Brew, do you agree that he's already a top 5 QB, and do you like the list?
Well, I like that he put himself in there. Most guys will be like, excluding me, but I like his confidence like that. The list, I think, is lacking. I think you got to have Josh Allen in there. And Hurts didn't have a great year last year, so I would definitely have Josh Allen.
Whatever happened to the white quarterback in America, man? It's just
they not on CJ's list, but I would put, Josh Allen would be the guy I put in there. He had 44 touchdowns last year, 15 of them rushing. But I think that right now there are two guys, other than Mahomes, that are definitively top 5. Lamar, because he got 2 MVPs, and Josh Allen. I think they're in it. Now, Burrow, I would, but with the injuries, I'm really interested to see how he plays this year. And then I think CJ. I love CJ. I liked him even in college. But I want to see another year. Like I do. Now, sure. I don't expect him not to have a great year, but I want to see it. Like, I don't just fall in love with somebody off 1 year. All right, so I want to see him do it again. And I think he'll battle, Justin Herbert at one time, I feel like was kind of viewed as a top 5 guy. Jalen Hurts going into last year was viewed as top 5. So after these 3 that I'm saying, Allen, Lamar, and obviously Mahomes, it's kind of a group that fights for those other spots.
So a couple things. One is I think Justin Herbert is viewed as a top 5 guy still in a lot of circles. I know we don't talk about it on this show as that, but I think a lot of people when they're listing their 5 best quarterbacks, and I think that it is far from universal that Lamar is in the top 3. I think that this.
I'm just going like accolades.
I understand. I get that, and I'm not. I think that there is right now quarterback unanimity on the following 2 things. Mahomes is 1, and Allen is top 5. I think everything, and maybe close to unanimity that Allen's top 3. I think everything else, it really is.
Lamar's top 5?
I think that if you ask somebody who the 5 best quarterbacks in the league are, I think you are going to have a sample of people that say, well, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, CJ, and then that 5th guy, I think some people, again, might say Herbert. The people who have Herbert, I don't think have Lamar in there. I think there's a lot of Jordan Love, it's similar to CJ Stroud love. I know some people still have Aaron Rodgers in the top 5.
They're Jets fans.
And so, not just Jets fans, also former Packers receivers. There's a lot of people. And so.
I agree with you. I think Lamar's should be in there, but I agree stylistically some people don't like it.
And so, do I agree he's top 5? Well, let's just refer back to Mahomes Mountain.
Oh.
And the latest edition of it.
When was it?
This was post-draft.
Oh, okay.
This is post-draft. Oh, I forgot Stafford. Stafford's another guy that some people would have in their top 5. They just would. I'm shocked. Brew, we're 7 minutes into it, didn't even mention his top 5 candidate, his beloved Brock Purdy, but that's.
Oh, no, he'll be in that group fighting. He's in that group.
But
where is he, by the way?
Brock Purdy, he didn't make this. He's a robe.
But yet the Prince.
He didn't. Okay, guys, we're just trying to have a different conversation. Everything doesn't have to be about the Prince on this show. You guys.
It was in overtime in the Super Bowl. He left the field with the lead in the Super Bowl. Prince at home.
Okay, guys.
Watch him like the rest of us.
Okay, guys. Zoom in further to take the Prince off.
Wondering
we can
what
do
they're
that
gonna do.
What do you want? You're the one that did this graphic.
Because that's just what the
Caleb.
There we go. Thank you. There. Now you guys can zip it.
I can't even see the guy's name.
Good.
1, 2, 3, 4,
zip
5.
it.
So you got.
I think Stroud's in the top 5. I don't need to see more. If I needed to see more, I saw it in his podcast this year. I mean it.
What does that mean?
No, you like me. You like the confidence.
No. I liked when he and Micah did the draft of players, and he's like, and he was basically breaking down how his offense, the play they would run. I was like, everything he's done this offseason exudes confidence, leader, super sharp. Yeah. He checked to me. So, yeah, I already think so if I were making my top 5, he's on there. He's on there. Mahomes obviously on there. Allen's on there. Burrow's on there. And then that 5th spot, I don't know.
Purdy and Lamar.
I don't. Okay, again, you forgot about Purdy. I reminded you
about
about Purdy.
You forgot about
I did
Purdy.
not.
You forgot
He's
about
in
Purdy.
the group.
Well, then why wasn't
that's
he
going to be
mentioned?
fighting for those last couple spots?
And so, yeah, I think that I'd rather have Stroud. If you ask me who I'd rather have next year, Stroud or Lamar, I'd rather have Stroud.
We have 30 seconds left. Hubs is young.
So, okay. This is so interesting because it's funny. Nick's all over the place, especially with Lamar, because Lamar, going into the playoffs last season, he labeled Lamar Jackson as one of the top quarterbacks of all time. He had his all-time great quarterback mountain, whatever the heck it was, and he had Lamar Jackson on that list, without a doubt. He had it on that list, and now he's saying, okay, I'd rather have C.J. Stroud. And he also put C.J. Stroud last season. He said that C.J. Stroud was going to dominate and outplay Lamar Jackson in the playoffs against each other, and that obviously did not happen. Lamar Jackson has clearly fallen out of favor, and it is funny to me because, again, and I pointed this out before, Nick loves to keep bringing down these quarterbacks, and if he keeps doing that, then who is Patrick Mahomes actually beating? It's just, I'll just keep saying that because he keeps acting like all these quarterbacks are not that good, and then Patrick Mahomes beats them, so then it's just not that impressive. But outside of all of that, I don't get lost in these lists too much. I really don't, because anyone who thinks that Dak Prescott's a top 4 quarterback, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. Because it's again, who in their right mind would ever pick Dak Prescott over Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert? I understand if we want to incorporate injuries as a reason why we might not want to draft Joe Burrow, but that's not what he's saying, right? That's not the question. It's just who's a top quarterback. Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, and it's not even particularly close. I mean, it's just what are we talking about? Same thing with Josh Allen. What are we talking about here? So these lists just are meaningless so largely to me, because I just made a video yesterday where I forget who it was, the one ex-GM on NFL News Live or whatever the heck it's called, NFL Live, and they were talking about how Jordan Love is the second best quarterback, that after Patrick Mahomes, you would have to draft Jordan Love, and now Jordan Love's not even on this list. So it's just everybody has so many different opinions, and it's just, they're all so over the place. They just really are. But the one thing that I really wanted to point out, and I don't want to feel like I'm not going to debate who I think top 5 is and this or that, because it's just we already do that all the time. And again, I think C.J. Stroud, to be very clear, I think C.J. Stroud is an elite quarterback and a great quarterback. I agree with Brew. I do want to see another year, but I say that about all these quarterbacks. I want to see all these quarterbacks play another year. Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, Jalen Hurts. I always want to see more. I'm always cautioned about just saying let's not just praise these quarterbacks or these players after just 1 or 2 years. We have to see an actual extended resume here. But I think C.J. Stroud is great. But I wanted to point out something that I find really funny, because it just shows you how much people like C.J. Stroud, and the difference of how important likability matters, because C.J. Stroud now puts his own name on the list, right? And you have people that either want to call that out, or they want to say it's great, that's confidence, that's awesome. And when people like the player, like C.J. Stroud, people love C.J. Stroud, and rightfully so. He's an awesome guy and has competed at a high level already. They're willing to accept that. But let's take a look at Justin Fields when he said that he was a top 5 and it was just top 5 running quarterback list. Which is, let's just see.
An MVP, Cam's an MVP, Vic's a 4-time Pro Bowler, Steve Young's a Super Bowl winner, Justin Fields is 5-20. You should have said, can we make it a top 4? Or said, I'd love to be there. Now, you can argue, I don't think he's one of the top 5 running quarterbacks. He'd get banged up, can't win games. It's not the end of the world. MVP, 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner, bust. I just want a better answer. And so this is not the end of the world. It's 5%. But I don't love it for a quarterback that's 5-20 and right now is closer to a bust than a star. I'm 55-45. he's going to succeed. I'm pulling back 5%. Lack a little self-awareness.
So, and that's the thing to me. Now, I understand his record is obviously not as good. He hasn't had the success that CJ Stroud has had. I get that. That's not lost on me. But the reality is that technically Justin Fields, his statistics put him actually top 5. I don't have them all on the top of my head right now, but like technically, statistically, when looking at running quarterbacks, he is statistically a top 5 running quarterback. And so he said that, and yet he was ripped apart, not just by Colin, but from a lot of people all around the media and stuff, and online, social media, all that type of stuff. And yet now CJ Stroud gives this list, and no one really bats an eyelash for putting himself on there, because they were like, right? You don't see people freaking out and saying, how could he put his name above Hurts, who went to a Super Bowl? How can he put his name above Dak Prescott, who's won 12 straight, 3 straight 12-win seasons? How can he put himself above Josh Allen? And no one's calling that out. No one's saying that. And it was just really interesting to me. And I don't think it's all just because CJ Stroud had a good rookie season as well as winning a playoff game. I think it's a combination of that as well as just like ability. That's what it gets boiled down to. If people like you, they are willing to root for you, they are willing to construct positive narratives about you, that's confidence. That's great. If CJ Stroud wasn't likable and still had those wins, let's say CJ Stroud had a personality of like the early career Baker Mayfield, or because Baker Mayfield had some early success too, and if he put himself in that list, like, people would be like, he's so cocky, he hasn't even done anything, wow, he won a playoff game and then he got rocked by Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, right? Like, you could easily see that if CJ Stroud was less likable, that is the answer that people would have been given. They would have said, okay, let's settle down, CJ. You had one good rookie season, which was great, but let's be real here. We have a lot of quarterbacks who have good rookies years, and that's it. So I want to see a little bit more. You played one season in the NFL. Like, you could easily see that, but it's not that. People are pretty much, for the most part, universally saying, yep, he's here. He's top 5. He's great. No problem that he put himself on that list. It's confidence. I believe in him even more now. That's awesome. Let's go. And it's just fascinating to me. It really, really is fascinating to me of how we paint pictures based off of the likability factor, right? Like, it's just very interesting to me. And to me, that's the more interesting conversation rather than who's the actual top 5 quarterback. It's why is it one player are we willing to say, that's confidence, I love it, that's awesome, and while another player we're like, yeah, you're cocky, you're delusional, you're wrong, why would you say that about yourself, right? Like, even LeBron James. Like, LeBron James mentioned that he thinks, okay, I'm probably the GOAT now, and people like ripped him apart for saying that. Like, it's just, I don't know, those conversations I find always interesting as to how the public decides to view them. But at the end of the day, to be very clear, I think CJ Stroud is a great quarterback. I understand the whole thing about what do we do with Lamar, because he balls out in the regular season, and then come time playoffs, he lacks that success, and so people hold lack of playoff success. You get held accountable for that, and if that's the reality, well, then you can't put Hurts up there either. So if you want to knock off Lamar and not Hurts, Dak Prescott, I mean, then you have to knock off Lamar and Dak, and so now you only have these 3 quarterbacks, and it's like, who are the other 2? And then would you say Lamar, or that Josh Allen has enough playoff success? Like, the reason why I don't love these top 5 lists is because the metric, the way we rank them, the metrics, the criteria, it's just always changing. It's always changing, always changing. And I'm confident that CJ Stroud knows way more about quarterback play than I ever will in my life. Way more than Brew or Nick Wright. And he's like, hey, look at these guys. But then it is funny because there's no white quarterbacks up there. And then you're just like, well, what's going on here? Like, are we holding Josh Allen back because he's a white quarterback now? Like, it's like, then you get into the whole black quarterback versus white quarterback, and it's just, the whole conversation just gets messier and messier and messier. So I try to engage with it very much at like arm's length, because it's just, again, who am I to argue against CJ Stroud in that regard. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know how you could possibly put Dak Prescott as a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. I think if we were doing the draft right now, nobody in their right mind would take Dak top 4. It's just not happening. It's just, especially if we had no idea about anything to do with injuries, you're just not doing it. It's just not. I don't even know if he's getting drafted top 10, quite honestly. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. Let's see you next time.